Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Solio Analytics podcast. This is me, Pras, and as usual, I'm joined by Jonny. Jonny, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Yes, looking forward to another week of FPL before we have our customary break for a couple of weeks. They come around very quickly. I'm sure it'll be game week 12, November international break before we know it, and then it's Christmas. So then we finally get midweek fixtures and all sorts of chaos. And yeah, looking forward to it. How are you
Yeah.
doing?
And good. It's this week has felt a little bit like the opposite of the calm before the storm. So this is like the calm after the storm because
Yeah,
the game week 6 felt like everyone played a chip, right?
I
And
think
with
most people did.
varying degrees of success. I think triple captaincy worked out, but the team's not as good, arguably, than the people who wildcarded, who got this last euphoria of the Gabriel goal that made up for the triple captaincy that they couldn't have. I just feel a little bit sorry for the free hitters. I feel like they could have got more or luckier as such with not getting clean sheets from Everton or Spurs and Richarlison, Foden, the key free hit picks not coming through. So, but that's FPL.
That's the way it goes. Yeah, I think it was the way it played out over the weekend as well. So actually, Haaland hit off. Well, even within the game, he didn't do too much. He got an assist and then
Yeah.
suddenly scored 2 goals right at the end. So then it's like, oh, the triple captainers have won, obviously, even though it's Saturday evening. And then Gabriel scores at the end, and most of the wildcarders have him. And yeah, free hitters sadly missed out on going against the Arsenal defenders for the most part, and yeah, the extra players. I know some wildcarders did triple up on like a City attack with Foden as well. So don't know, but yeah, I think that swings around about. That's why it's fun. That's what we want.
Yeah, the chips, like I've come around to it. Of course, there is variance, right? So we don't like people who play the game like we do on this podcast and some of the listeners. We don't like variance because we want the outcomes to be more certain or predictable, so we can do well. But if we just remove that for a second and just think about the fun element of it, that we get to play all these chips and people are on different paths because of these chips. The week you free hit determines what wildcard team you bring out. From that point of view, I think that's nice. I think it's good to see
Yeah, it's
that.
almost like a better story of what's happening.
Yeah.
Like we want crazy stuff to happen because we remember it. We talk about. Do you remember that week when everyone plays a different chip? And I'm sure some people bench boosted this week. I don't know how they actually did, but we'll see.
Estev on the bench was not so nice, but
Well, no, yeah, very good week for anti FPL. A lot of us triple
yeah,
captained Kyle Walker for -1.
really nice.
But yeah, Estev actually only got -2 because he got defensive contributions, so he's back from
Yeah,
2
you
goals
guys
to.
must hate those. You guys must hate those.
Yeah, I mean, just the average score is a lot higher, so it's just like getting used to that. But this week was a good low scoring week. I think some people hit like
Yeah,
14, 15 points.
right.
So
Okay.
a good week for anti FPL as well.
Excellent. So we're gonna keep this short because we know it's a Thursday evening. We couldn't record on a Tuesday, and we will first start with thanking everybody for the support for Solio, the tool. As you may know, the tool launched officially in their paid subscription tiers. So we've got 4 tiers, which we will talk about in a second. But I think we have to start with everybody who's listening to this, everybody who's tried the tool. We've had several beta testers. We've had people who've used this in the free look period between August and September. Everyone who's even contributed or even just logged in, just a big thank you from all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the contributions have been invaluable in terms of us shaping how the tool is going moving forward. But yeah, we're looking forward to having people play around with some of the new features that we've brought in for this this launch. So there's a few new things that we've shown a couple of things that were in the works, and some of the beta testers have seen that, but now are live in the tool. So these are the 4 tiers that we've got. So to start off, it's a freemium model. We have a free tier. So it's a little bit more restricted. You've only got 5 game weeks worth of forecasting data, and you can't build these massive planning branching trees. You can only have sort of three paths, but there's still plenty to
Which
play
most
around
people
with.
will say is enough.
I think I get lost. I'm making tens of hundreds of different branches and getting myself all in a muddle. But yeah, 3 is plenty to play around with. And you can also you can customize your solve, so you can lock and ban up to 5 players, and everyone gets access to our Discord server, which is actually pretty active at the minute. That's where we're discussing a lot of the new features. That's where people are reporting bugs and giving us feedback on some of the new stuff that we've been rolling out. But yeah,
Absolutely. And the most important part about tier 1 is, I get a lot of questions or DMs or people who've never used analytics, right? And they love Solio because they can play around with things, they can see options. Their use of the model is very different from, somebody who's heavily analytically bent. They're just trying to see who the projected points are. You can do all of that here because the most important thing that you can take from tier 1 is the underlying model is exactly the same. There is no difference between what people are seeing for the 5 game weeks that you have to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. It's exactly the same. So everything that you were doing, playing around with numbers, looking at, suggested moves, looking at who's the best captaincy for this week, next week, up until the next 5 weeks, it's exactly the same. That's, I think, a very key point.
Yeah, or if you've just got a couple of ideas that you've come up with yourself and you just want to sort of test them out and see the numbers support one in particular, if you're having a hard time deciding, that's easy to just come in and build out and plan, and just the same way you'd use on any other planner. You can just sort of browse through, see how your team looks in a couple of weeks' time. What does this move mean for that, and plan ahead. Yeah, but then for tier 2, we've got a few more. It's basically more customizable.
Right.
So we've shown around that you can edit the player minutes, and we were showing last week about editing the goal and assist shares. And what we've got working now as well is that obviously it's all coherent. So if I bring a striker's attacking output down, then the wingers are sort of accounting for that. Or if I swap the forwards, then if we're bringing in a forward who's a different profile, maybe you take Jokeres out and put Havertz in. His goal share is not as potent, but his assist share is a bit higher, so maybe the wingers are getting more attacking output from that, something like that. And some of the features that we brought out for tier 3, you guys will get in November as well. So we're giving people access a little bit earlier for these tier 3 and tier 4 ones in terms of editing the team strengths. So how good is the team overall? So you can move that, and it moves all the players. So if I make Arsenal,
which we'll show in a demo in a second, right?
So you can make Arsenal better, and all of Arsenal players move coherently, synchronized alongside that, rather than having to edit a player at a time. But if you're only editing a couple of players here and there, then actually this is plenty good enough to go, okay, I can customize that, or I slightly disagree with these numbers I've evaluated. I think that's rating it too highly or too low, or I think this guy's going to be playing instead. And obviously on tier 2, you're also getting 10 game weeks, which I think is more than enough for most people. I often am only planning with 8 to 10 game weeks worth of stuff, unless I think there's something specific in 12 game weeks time. I know we've got AFCON sort of in the horizon, but that'll come in soon enough.
Yeah, this is actually the game week where maybe you need more than 10, because game week 16 you'll get 5 free transfers. So you're sitting in game week 7 thinking, do I want to plan for that? But I think information changes. So I think there's if you apply a little bit of decay, or if you apply a little bit of things change, people get injured, or your paths are not going to stay the same. So I think 10 is good. Yeah.
Any specific transfer I've got in my plan in game week 15 or 16 is not the move I'm going to make. It's just the kind of move I'm going to make. So it's really just planning for that as well. Or maybe it is. Maybe I get there and it's all stayed exactly the same. But yeah, usually someone's injured, or a team's performing better than we think, or a new option's emerged, or not too far from January, we'll have new players coming in and all these kind of changes. Yes, and then tier 3 and tier 4 gets access to all of that. Tier 4 we've given the full season. This was a fun one for me and Rob to try and project all the way through till what's going to happen in May. Who's going to play, who's going to be at AFCON, who's going to be loaned out and not be able to play against their parent club.
So you predicted the FA Cups, the Carabao Cup finals,
not
the
quite,
blanks, the doubles.
No.
You will eventually.
Yeah. So it's good enough for now if you want to be testing out, second half of the season chip stuff, or running through AFCON. Obviously that's going up to game week 22 ish, I think, depending on when teams get knocked out. And again, so the tier 4 guys will get access to some live Q&A stuff with the team, and they'll get a full end of season report from us as well. So just a few extra little goodies for say thank you for all the extra support. Nice. So part of tier 4 is that you're trying to support what we're doing. So we'll try and give you as many extra things as we can. But yeah, I think there's something for everyone there. Well, that's the intention. Analytics for all is part of the mantra that we were working on right at the start. But
and Discord is available for everybody. That's a very
everybody's
thing.
In the Discord. Yeah.
Talk FPL. You have questions about the tool. You have questions about anything else. It's that's what it's for. So that's still what you, like you said, is the mantra.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We've got a channel where everyone's sharing like latest bits of news as well. So sometimes that's quite useful if you're not catching up fully on Twitter or something. There's just the news feed of the latest injuries and what the press conference stuff is saying. So I'm often in there for lineup graphics and stuff. But yeah, so yeah, the whole Solio team are in there as well, and lots of nice guys in the community to interact with. So yeah, would encourage you to get involved. If you need any more information, it's available on the website. If you just go into the settings menu, actually, I can show you quickly where it is. So if I'm in the tool, I go to the settings, and I've got my tier 4 subscription as a founder of the company. But if I just click this button, it takes me to the pricing and the information on that. So that's, I think that's most of it. We'll show a few of them off as well, or we'll try and tie that into some discussion points specifically. I think because penalty share editing is a new one that we slightly glossed over as well.
Let's do some pen share editing with Arsenal and talk about Arsenal a little bit, amongst other features.
Let's have a look. So lots of Arsenal attackers available this week, or defenders. I know a lot of people are buying Gabriel, but we can see that at the minute we've got Saka as the highest projected player. But if I go to the teams here, this is showing how good the teams are, and this is where I can move it around. I can make them better or worse. So maybe they're better in attack, maybe they're not. But if I click on Arsenal over here, then we have our penalty taker hierarchy, essentially is how this works. So we've got 3 tiers. I can remove players. So I could drop down to 2 tiers if I wanted to, or even 1. But essentially, this is the order in which we're assigning the penalty shares to the players. And just below it, you can see an overview of how that plays out when you adjust for the minutes. So actually, if we've got Saka and Ødegaard in tier 1, but if they were both injured, then you'd have to go to tier 2 to give the penalties out. So if they both had no minutes, then Ødegaard and Eze and Havertz are going to get a good share of the penalties. But as soon as Saka comes back, then it will dynamically go, oh, Saka's back, he takes the penalties first if he's on the pitch. And Ødegaard and Eze and Havertz get the remainder, so to speak. So I can assign tier 1, so it goes to tier 1, and then any remaining penalty share based on the predicted...
If neither on the pitch,
yeah,
right? So that's
yeah. So like, unless you've got Saka and Gyökeres and 100% of all the playing time, then there's going to be a little bit of penalty share left. Because there's a chance, even if you know that Saka and Gyökeres are fit and starting, they could both come off after 80 minutes. So then there's, a small portion, there's 10 minutes of... But if that's happening every game, you know that Ødegaard, for example, might have 10 minutes every match of penalty share, which adds up. It's not nothing. But I can adjust these as well. So if I actually think that Saka is more likely to take the penalties, I can drop Gyökeres down. I can bring Saka up. Let me just adjust that back to 100. So I say that Saka's taken about 2/3 of the penalties when he and Gyökeres are both on the pitch. And if Gyökeres isn't on the pitch, then he's taking all of them. And actually that plays out that Saka's taking about that many because he's played most of the minutes. And Gyökeres takes a little bit less because he has some potential... He's got more potential minutes doubts when Havertz comes back and so on. So he's good now, but actually, this is across the whole season, so we don't know if he's going to necessarily be playing. So let's play it out a little. Yes. Let's say let's make the share tier 1 share 50-50, right? 50. Saka and Gyökeres. Yeah. So now let's go edit Gyökeres' minutes. Yes. Because now the fewer minutes Gyökeres plays, Saka's pen share should go higher theoretically, right? Yeah. So we see that Saka's getting 54% of the penalties currently. If I say that Gyökeres is actually injured, let's just say he's out, or I don't know, has been sold, I'm not sure, out for the season, then suddenly Saka's got almost all the penalties, and after that is spread amongst Ødegaard, Eze, and Havertz based on their minutes. Interesting. But then I could bring Ødegaard up to tier 1 if I wanted to, and then they're splitting it. I can play around. Basically, my opinion of who I think is taking it in what order. So we really try to think about how do people think about how penalties are given out, and how do we build that in a way that will auto-calculate based on what you're saying, rather than having to go to each match and say, it's this guy, if not this guy, if not this guy, if not this guy. So that's the intention there. So I'll just reset the minutes and predictions back. Interesting. Who do you think is on pens? I think Gyökeres probably takes him over Saka. But because he's taken one already, right? But Saka wasn't on the
He's taken
pitch.
one, but Saka wasn't there. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was the Leeds
so
game week
yeah,
2.
so we're not certain. I think there's enough element of doubt, and also I think it's hard to say with Saka coming back from an injury who's got the best minutes in the next few weeks. But I'd say this week, given that Gyökeres played midweek and Saka came off the bench, there's probably a good chance that Gyökeres is off a bit earlier.
Yeah.
So Saka gets penalties for maybe that last bit, but then I don't know if he's fit to play 90. So I'd probably say 70-30, I think, which is maybe why the
fair.
defaults reflect that. But
Of course, you had nothing to do with the defaults.
no. These exist as they are. Would you agree? Do you think, or do you think
I
it's
think
someone
so.
else?
Look, I think
Because they share them out sometimes, don't they? Saka just
Yeah,
you have it.
and unfortunately, people who are not, who are not used to looking at or you are used to zeros and ones, they just go, okay, we don't know, so we don't care. Like, we'll just see. And then when an event like what happened with Newcastle happens, then you go, okay, now I know. Now I know Gordon's is on pin. So I think there's lots that'll just sit on the fence and say, I'll just wait and see. But I suspect the answer is, even if somebody takes one, you still won't know, because the situation is a little bit murky. Saka has been charitable in the past, not just with Gyökeres. I mean, we don't know with Gyökeres, but he's been charitable with Odegaard in the past. And so we just don't know, right? I mean, if so let's say next match both are playing, Saka hands the ball to Gyökeres, or let's say the penalty was given against Newcastle, I would still sit here and say we don't know. Like, we think, okay, now it's 80% Gyökeres, we're still
more
not 100.
likely Gyökeres,
Yeah.
And sometimes, so I thought with Gordon, especially, like it's probably his until he misses. Like there's other good penalty takers at Newcastle now with Walter and Wissa, and even Fabian Schär's like got a good penalty record. So when he took the first one yesterday against Union Saint-Gilloise, then it was like, okay, like, well, one, I know he's taking it, but if he misses it, who's on them? And if he scores it, he's probably on them. But then, because Walter didn't look very interested in the first one, but then he looked more interested in the second one. And you get all this reading of people were talking about Enzo took the penalty without Palmer, but João Pedro gave him the ball or something. Can't remember. So maybe he does want them, but he said Enzo can have this one. And this is the murky area of an art, not a science. But there's not many teams where it's just, even City, like Haaland just gave it to Marmoush once. Who knows? And Salah's missed
the FA Cup final, no less. Remember that?
I know, yeah.
Wow, that was incredible. But yeah,
that's why they lost, perhaps.
I
don't know. Yeah, but you can play around with all of them. So like we've put some in that we should be pretty accurate. But if you disagree, then some people just think this guy's not on penalties. Like the consensus is that we don't know, but I'm pretty feel strongly that it's this guy for any particular reason. So now you can go in and edit that to make sure that everything matches up. Is there any particular penalties?
Any other features?
Other ones? I was going to say, are there any other teams that we're waiting on? But I guess, well,
I would say Villa.
Yeah. Watkins missing. And
no
one else
Watkins
being
missing
good.
And Tielemans not being fit, and Rodgers, like Unai Emery saying, I don't even know Rodgers. I've never seen him take a penalty. Like, it's all up in the air. Maybe it's McGinn. Maybe Watkins takes one now that he's scored a goal. He's back in form. So,
who knows? Yeah, complicated. But
no one cares about Villa anyway.
Well,
apart from me,
they're not great at the moment. Apart from you, but yeah, I mean, you're not going to change what you're doing. Like, you're going to own Watkins or not. It's not going to affect your captaincy decision. I think that's sometimes where we go to we don't know, but I don't care. Is actually like, if it doesn't affect your decision, then you don't need to worry about it. Like, I have this guy. If he's on pens, it's better. Good. But what am I going to do differently if he isn't? Sometimes it's like, I should sell him, but.
Yeah, but I think, one interesting point you make, a good way to do these things, and, it's for people who are less familiar with how to model these things, how to project these things, because sometimes it feels daunting, right? Like, people will go, I don't know if Eze should be on tier 2, or I think one good practice is, for example, I'll be on wildcard next week. I'll be doing things like, let's try Enzo Fernandez at 100%, right? Let's assume Palmer is out, and let's assume, or I'll do Palmer tier 100%, Enzo tier 2 100%. And in that case, I'll see, is Enzo showing up now in my team for wildcard? And then I'll bring Enzo down to, let's say, 50%, sharing in tier 2 with João Pedro. Does he still show up or not? So that at least then tells me that is he only showing up because the belief is that he's on penalties while Palmer is out? And then what do I think about that? But if he's showing up even at 50%, then I need to think deeper. It's not because the model thinks he's on penalties. He's actually just a good pick. He's especially an even better pick while Palmer is out because he gets to play in the number 10. It's stuff like that, I think, where this stuff is really good. So it shouldn't be a black and white where you need the absolute truth.
It's a bit more like, what if this happens? Because also sometimes there's a player that you're like, they're okay, but they might be on penalties. And then you see, what if they are on penalties? And suddenly they're a really good pick. And you go, oh, actually, do I think they are on penalties? Is that something I want to take a chance on? And sometimes you're like, this guy might be on penalties. And then you give him penalties and he's just still not that good. And you go, okay, well, I don't need to worry about that.
Like Bruno Fernandes, obviously.
He's the opposite, yes, in my opinion. I think even without penalties, he still somehow seems to just...
I'm joking, come on.
Spit out points. But yes, I mean, you can even build a tree like that. So if you wanted to, I'll do a very quick one. We're going to actually solve this. You can do a wild card. I can build 3 different bits of info. But then you can go into Chelsea and you can go to their penalties and I can put Palmer on 100 in this one and Enzo 100 tier 2 in that one. I can go to this one and I can have the same, but I can have Palmer on reduced minutes. And I can go to this one and I can say, actually, Enzo's not on pens, it's João Pedro after that. And, then I can solve across the 3 and say, what do I do if I find out that next week these are the scenarios? And maybe I think this one's more likely and I could say that one's 70%, this one's 20%, and so on. So you can plan for what if this happens, what if this happens, what if this happens. Because the penalties are something that they do collapse down to a state of maybe not full certainty, but they're going to move at the minute we're guessing, and then once a penalty's taken, that's a huge chunk of info of, well, depending on whether it goes in. Obviously, we go, Watkins is on penalties. Oh, no, he isn't. We go, Gordon's on penalties, but he might not be. But he is, because he scored, and he took another one, and he didn't score again. So actually, all that info just moves it around. But yeah, I think that's a fun one to play around with. I don't think we've got too many other features to show off. I guess we can discuss some of the different assets.
Yeah, let's just go back to then talking points, come back to FPL and Gameweek 7, I guess.
Yes, the game.
So Arsenal, I think people are either saving or buying an Arsenal player this week, right? I mean, that's the theme of the week. That's how the fixtures have dropped.
I've seen a few wildcards who've got a bit more to think about.
You've seen a few wildcards?
Yeah, but it's not. I think for a lot of people, you can wildcard in 8 and you can make do this week. But I know there are people on it. But yeah, I think it's a lot of people are quite well set to buy Gabriel. I think they've either planned for it or they see it as a good swap from Virgil van Dijk to move across. I think in that instance might be one where you could consider waiting and trying later, especially if I think he's going to be okay. We'll get maybe some more info tomorrow, but he's got a small...
I think he's fine.
Yeah.
The question is he protected for the international break and Arteta pulls his dark arts or whatever? I think as of right now, you have to predict that he should be fine and he should start, right? Unless you hear otherwise. The only hiccup here is that this is a Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday turnaround, which is the worst for any manager, any team. They've always said it. They always complain about it. And any player who's played the first 2 games, which are Gabriel, Gyökeres, Zubimendi, Raya. I think that's about it because they rested 6 players.
Yeah.
Both the fullbacks, both the wingers, Rice, and So there was a lot of people rested. So I think it's only a question of Gyökeres, Gabriel, and Zubimendi. Nobody cares about, but it's one of those 2 guys could have limited minutes. Does it mean a benching? No, but I can't sit here and say, like, for example, Gyökeres plays 90 minutes again. He's played 290s already.
It seems much less likely. I mean, they don't have as many options, but they can move Trossard in there a little bit, or he can start the game and they can see how it's going, and maybe they do need to just flog him, and that's not ideal, but that's what they need to do to try and get the points. I think with Gabriel as well is like Mosquera's played a bit more than I thought he would. He's not always been great. I think he's had a few sort of mishaps, but I think it's clear that Arteta trusts him a bit more than his previous backup centre-back.
Yep. He's no
Um,
Kiwior.
yeah, no, well, Kiwior was okay.
He was all right.
But I
He got a
think,
goal for me last year.
oh, did he? Oh, did he score
Yeah.
right at the end? Was that the last game? Or was that?
No, I think between the doubles or somewhere, and Gabriel
Yeah.
was out. Kiwior, I got on
Oh, but
Kiwior.
yeah,
Whatever.
Gabriel got injured in game week 30 when we all wildcarded,
Something like
and
that.
the people who
Yeah, yeah.
waited a week just got to dodge him. Yeah, but Mosquera's been able to play some of these extra games, and actually, Saliba was a small doubt against Newcastle, and he's like, okay, I'll just play Mosquera, and he came on at half time, but
Yeah, yeah.
he's willing to do that. So I don't think they're as nailed as they used to be. And I guess he's slightly been scarred a bit in the past by some of the injuries that he's had and what's kind of done to the team. So I think, yeah, it's just this is the era of a bit more rotation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gabriel's not a pass or an avoid or a bad player.
I mean, long term, he's still the best defender option,
yeah,
right?
he scores all these goals. And, yeah, very annoying as a Newcastle fan. But yes, he's very good. Even in the DEFCON era, Arsenal's
Yeah.
defence is just so strong. Well, we can see how strong are they. Back from Chelsea, they are the best. There you go, better than everyone else. Yeah, I mean they're like expecting less than a goal a game on average against an average team, which is not a lot. So yeah, I think they're well worth investing in. I've got Raya, so I've kind of just gone get the keeper and leave him. He's not gonna. That seemed to be the thing with when City's defense was very, very strong. I know their rotation was much more of an issue, and you just suddenly like, oh, where's Ruben Diaz gone? He's
their centre backs were
decided.
not as minute secure, and B, not as as
potent
threatening
defensively.
to the goal.
Yeah. So we're not in that situation, but I think we can dampen expectations a little. But yeah, I think so. If you were going for a defender or an attacker, have you got two at the minute? Have you got?
I've got Gyökeres already.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't have a defender.
Right.
But because I'm wildcarding, of course, if I was wildcarding, I'd probably have Gabriel and Raya, right? I mean, it just makes sense to do that. But here I'm thinking, what is the 1 week? So I have a transfer which I want to use. It's not like I have to because I can roll through the wildcard. But now this is getting into my team. But I just think that for 1 week, if you're going for a transfer, then Wirtz to a Saka makes more sense than a Van de Ven to a Gabriel, for example. Like I can do either, but I just think the potential with Saka is higher, which is simply just to say Saka has higher expected points. Because if I went Gabriel, I'd be playing 4 at the back. So it's literally just that one position. Do you want your 11th player to be Saka or Gabriel? And expected points say that it's quite clearly Saka.
Yeah, I guess it's probably his range of outcomes is probably a bit higher as well. Like I think Saka's able to get. You can only get 1 clean sheet. You can't get 2. So unless Gabriel's getting 2 goals, which he can do sometimes,
don't put it in the universe.
Something enormous. But yeah, like Saka's able to get 2 returns, whereas Gabriel's more likely to get a clean sheet, some bonus, and he's got a chance of another goal on top of that. But Saka's probably got better access to that 14, 15 pointer. So yeah, if it's a 1 week punt, so to speak. But yeah, I do think there's a bit of a question about whether, because they've kind of been a defense first team in some ways. So actually, like, if I want to double up longer term, do I want to invest in their attack or their defense? I think there's a question for people as well about. Well, to me, there's lots of good defenders as well. There's not as many good attackers. So maybe Saka's a bit more enticing in that regard because I can get these 4.5 million defenders who go close to Gabriel or closer than some of the mids can get to Saka. So I think there's a few things to weigh up. It's not just, do I think Arsenal's attack or defense is better?
Yes.
And which one I want to invest in. It's what does that mean for my team and my structure. And again, like, what does it mean? Maybe Saka's a good price point because then it's easier for me to get Palmer from him in a few weeks if Palmer's back a bit sooner. Whereas if not, I'm either moving around funds or got to do Salah to Palmer. I don't know. Have you got plans for Palmer, or is this not? I guess you've got wild card. I was going to say
I'll be the wild. Yeah, wild card is the plan.
That solves a lot of problems.
I will be playing it. I'll be playing it tomorrow. Or we're recording it on Thursday. By the time people listen to this, I'll be playing it in a few hours. And I think my team needs it because I didn't free hit in 6. I think now delaying it just means bleeding 3-4 points to the wildcard team or a perfect team every week. So there's no point. We will discuss it during the international break on some
Yeah.
of my thoughts around Palmer, around Salah. But actually, we should talk about Salah now because Rob T has just dropped a really cool graphic
Yes.
on what are we thinking about Salah. This is
Salah's
quite
slump.
alarming.
Yeah. Well, I think worst ever is certainly rings alarm bells in some regard. Hard not to, but essentially what is this showing? I guess for audio listeners as well. So Salah's data over the first 6 games of this season. We looked back at any previous 6-game run of fixtures in Salah's, well, not full career. We'll come back to 2020, last 6 seasons, and seen what was his worst sort of string of 6 games for expected output for non-penalty goals, non-penalty expected goal involvements, and even his shots as well. Just if he's getting his shots off, and it's not way worse for his expected goals. It's 0.15 to 0.17, and 0.28 non-penalty XGI to 0.33 was his worst. But then this is, we're essentially cherry picking. We're like, let's cherry pick the worst possible, and he's done worse than that still. And yeah, 1.67 shots to 2 per 90. So something's clearly not working, because I think the rhetoric's been a little bit that like he's lost it, or he's not going to get it back. But how worried should we be, essentially? Because we know these big players do have slumps. Like,
Yep.
I don't think we would have thought that he'd had a 6-game spell of under 0.2 non-penalty goals in his last 5-6 seasons. It's been unbelievable.
Right.
But you do still get those strings of poor performance. So is this, it's unlikely that this is just the worst run by random chance. Like, we expect a bad run, but I don't know. What do you make of it? Do you think there's enough reasons outside of his control? Enough reasons
No,
outside of random chance, essentially?
I think it's a Liverpool thing, to be honest, right?
Yeah.
I think people who had Ekitike and Gakpo, I don't like to call other people lucky, right? Because the game is the game.
Yeah.
But I feel, those were not reflective of how Liverpool. I think the results in the Premier League are not reflective of how Liverpool started. We can all see it. Newcastle were down to 10 men and they were battering Liverpool. Bournemouth, they were very lucky to get that result because, Bournemouth were putting them under pressure in game 1. The Arsenal game was pretty much a nothing 0-0 game until Szoboszlai scores that worldy free kick. So they have, even the Liverpool fans will admit, they've gotten away with the results. And so this whole argument of whether they're top of the league, there's no problems. I think there are problems. And are they unsurmountable problems? Absolutely not. They'll figure it out. They've got a great coach. They've got good players. They need to figure something out. And if that means they need to drop 150 million signing in words to go back to basics on playing Szoboszlai in the 10, playing Gakpo where he likes to play, starting with Isak and giving him minutes, and then Salah, and then trying to see this whole new chemistry, they will figure it out. Whether you want to... What I don't want to do is jump to the opinion that, okay, this is not Salah's season, because this happened last year where people were not... Okay, Salah started off really well, but people were convinced that Haaland is the guy.
Yeah.
And then by game week 10, I talked about this in a couple of pods ago. By game week 10, people were idiots for holding Haaland. So I'm very, very careful taking these outlandish, strong opinions on these very elite players that either they're finished or they're perma-capped.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the type of analytics that Sir Talp was talking about when we went through the sort of types of analysis you can do. So we can definitely descriptively say Salah has been really poor over the first 6 weeks. But we can't necessarily predictively say he's going to be this poor for the rest of the season. Like, the talent in that team is too good. Salah's been too good for 6-7 seasons. He's not suddenly only this good. It's more likely that he has a poor run continue than before, because he's been playing poorly and something needs to change for that to happen. But equally, it changed before. He's had a run about this bad at some point, and
Right.
come back from it. That wasn't the last 6 games of the last season. This was 2020, 2021. They had a period in 22, 23 where he was barely getting, he was getting 2 shots a game off. And he came back from that. And actually that was just a string of, it's not quite working. Maybe there's some other players missing. But we've got Isak in, we've got Wirtz in. I think it shows how much of a creative hub Trent was as well. And actually the fact that having to move that creativity around the pitch and where is it coming from. But they've got the tools to fix that. They just haven't worked it out yet. And it might take them a while. It might take them longer than we think. So it's not like Salah's going to be back to scoring form next week. But if he was, I don't think it would be, well, where did this come from? Who's this guy? It's like, what's Mo Salah? Like, we know he can score goals. But yeah, it's definitely one to keep monitoring. And I think this is one as well where you can, to some extent, if you have strong enough opinions on the tactical setup of Liverpool, and if you feel like you think Slot's going to try something and you think it's not going to work for a certain reason, you can start to put your thumb on the scale a little bit and say, I'm going to downgrade Liverpool's attack, downgrade Salah a little bit. But bear that in mind. But equally, like, be aware that it can go the other way. Like, he can bounce back a lot quicker than you think he might do. It's not one directional. Yeah. He might suddenly be, might be game week 10, and Haaland's had his worst 6 games in a row. And everyone needs to get back to Salah before he goes to AFCON quickly and then get back off him. And I don't know. Yeah. Tricky.
Someone shared with me with Haaland as well, when people were thinking of triple captaining him. And, there was this thing of, Haaland started really well and he's in form and whatever. And someone shared with me, this is the slowest Haaland has ever started in the Premier League.
He starts well.
And he starts well. But if you used this, it's the slowest start. You wouldn't have triple captained him last week. Now, of course, outcome is not decision, but it's just one of those things that, yes, it can happen. If this becomes into a worst 8-game week slump or this thing continues, then we reevaluate. I don't think anyone is jumping on Salah this week, but I have a decision to make on wildcard 8, and I will talk about that over the international break.
Yeah, I think it's mostly from an FPL point of view, just making sure that you're not accidentally cutting off routes to Salah in 10 or 11 or 12, or whenever you might want to go back to him. It's just bearing in mind that while if you were taking the option now, you might not go back to him. If I had to decide my moves up to game week 12 now, I probably wouldn't end up going back to him. I might have changed my mind by then. There's a very reasonable chance that I do want him.
I just worry that in a world where Palmer is not a captaincy shout, we're gonna struggle for captaincies without Salah. But maybe Haaland just keeps doing well, and then people just don't worry about it.
Yeah, seems like he's top of all the polls this week. Should we look at the Game Week 7 odds?
This week? Yeah, let's do that.
So it's actually, City's goals aren't as high as, not as I thought they might be, but as I thought they might be, given that it seems everyone's just happy to captain Haaland. Because there's a few people who are looking at, Man United predicting a bit more goals, and obviously Bruno's not getting as big a share of that as Haaland gets of City's, but takes penalties as well, does defensive contributions, does more assists, he does more bonus. He does more bonus. He can get bonus from fewer returns, I think, so to speak. Like Haaland needs a goal or two. Whereas Bruno can get it in a 0-0 somehow.
In an assist, or nothing.
Or just nothing, 6-point assists. But yeah, they're home to Sunderland. So I think though that was one that people were eyeing up as I can go against Haaland. And I think also until Haaland started, his first 3 games were good but not amazing. And then he scored a few goals in game week 4 and 5, and obviously had a really good last week. But it does feel like, I think when we were looking at game week 6 before the last international break, I don't think everyone was like, well, obviously it's Haaland at that point. We've kind of moved a lot more. And obviously, for a reasonable reason, you scored a lot of goals. It's not like it's just suddenly randomly gone, let's pick Haaland.
No, it's also the competition, right?
Yeah.
It's also the competition. Like, I think Bruno was the best cap this week, and maybe many people will still do that. But, like, for example, it's not a given that if United get a penalty against Sunderland that he takes it. It's not a given. I still think he does. He's more likely to than not. But there is this thing of, because it's, so we are assuming obviously that it's this game. and it's coming off the back of him missing 2 this season. I can see a scenario where if it's Mbumo who wins the pen and he says, you know what, you just go for it, because Mbumo is
Yeah.
so good at penalties as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the only real benefit is that Bomo and Cunha have both missed pens as well.
yeah, but you know, the longer term record now,
Yeah.
Bruno's on 2 misses.
Mm.
So, and he's a nice guy. Like, Bruno is not one of those. He's not a Ronaldo in the sense that, oh, it's my show now. I will
Yeah.
show you all. I can score this pen. He's humble enough to just say, you know what, go for it. Like I said, I think it's likelier that he takes it than not. But I just think there is that chance, especially if it happens this game week, because it's so close to the last game week where he missed.
There's a lot of pressure on him as well. If he gets the penalty and, if he misses 3 in a row, then
Exactly.
yeah, he's going to not want to take the next one after that, presumably. Unless he's pretty mentally strong to go, no, I'm still good at them.
He scored like 51 out of 58 or something like this. His
Record's
is
still
so
very good. It's just that, yeah.
It's still good. Still good.
But yes, there's enough doubt and enough push the other way from Haaland has been very good to feel quite safe with Haaland. I think normally, I mean, Brentford aren't amazing, but like an away game to Brentford isn't one that you normally have gone, I'm licking my lips. Like, that's what I want from Haaland. That's perfect. But you feel safe enough with him now that it's like, okay, like we've done it in a few games before. I just think he's likely to continue. But I suppose it's not the elephant in the room. Arsenal, 2.57 projected goals home to West Ham. Got a new manager now, West Ham, obviously with Nuno, who's probably a bit more defensively minded, but he's had, 3-4 training sessions, if that? And a match. Like, the West Ham squad's not suddenly got a lot better in the last week.
Correct.
I suppose, he's not really a back five man, is he? Because sometimes that can change it if they line up in a back five.
He could. At Wolves, he ran a back five.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I'm thinking of his Forest time, which was back four, but
I think Forest had better defenders.
Yeah, that was part of it.
Ironically, today Ange has gone back five with those better defenders, but that's a different thing.
Well, there you go. But West Ham were doing back five before that, and they've got a few centre backs. But it's hard to know what the squad's going to be best lined up to do. And Arsenal are just looking pretty good. They look pretty good against Olympiacos. They've got, I don't know. I think also with new striker Gyökeres, like he looks good against Olympiacos. He was doing a bit more of the other stuff that I think makes him a good striker, which he doesn't always do. But a lot of moving parts at Arsenal. Obviously, they've got a lot of good players, but Eze's only just joined, and Gyökeres has only just joined, and they've got a good base behind that, and obviously, rely a lot on set pieces. So I think, was it West Ham who'd been really poor against set pieces? Maybe that is the reason to pick Gabriel. And they conceded.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because
they a lot of headers.
They conceded the header. Michael Keane scored it. It wasn't quite a set piece, but
correct.
Yeah, it was. They might concede a header. Oh, they have. Oh, excellent. So yeah, maybe you should captain Gabriel. Maybe not. Although Newcastle are looking pretty dominant here as well. We've not really looked too much at their attackers, but Gordon is certainly one people have looked at a bit more after he scored 2 penalties. Which was news. I thought Walter Marlow was going to take them. His record's pretty good, but
what do you think about Gordon's minutes, by the way? Like, as the Newcastle fan, like, is he? Look, on pens, obviously the temptation is. Yeah, but you know what? It's better than the clueless.
I know who the players are. Yeah.
Who do you think he becomes like a 80-90 minute guy, or is Eddie Howe gonna do the same thing like he's done to Elanga and Murphy and Barnes?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the sort of Murphy Elanga situation in terms of like it's just kind of either of them, and Murphy starting up front in a 5-3-2 against Leeds. I don't think we're going to see that repeatedly. But I can certainly see, we saw Bruno Guimaraes rested against Bournemouth, and we saw, Gordon suspended, and neither Barnes nor Elanga played against Leeds. So he's definitely seems more open to doing this rotations, whereas before it was, this is the 11 that I've kind of figured out how it works, and I'll just play them until they break and have to figure something else out. But that really damaged the team in 2 seasons ago when it suddenly had Champions League. And we were playing, I think, Jamal Lascelles in like 5 of the 6 games he started, and Lewis Miley, who was very good and is very good, but was 17 and probably wasn't ready to be starting Champions League games repeatedly, had to play because we didn't have any midfielders. So I think, again, a bit like Arteta, I imagine he's going to be a bit scarred by what happened in the past and will look to rotate them. I think we saw that, what was it, Walter started the game before the Barcelona game because Gordon was suspended, but then Gordon started up front against Barcelona and Walter had a rest so that he could then play at the weekend because Gordon was still suspended. So he's gone, okay, like I can mix this around a bit. And I think that's partly what Walter and Wissa will look a bit like as well, is actually like, I've got some different options. Murphy and Elanga are both right wingers, but they offer something very different. Like Elanga can hit those runs to the byline and cut it back, and Murphy's good at crossing and pressing, and Gordon and Barnes are quite different as well. You know, Gordon's got a lot of runs in behind, whereas Barnes can sort of cut inside and beat a man, and Walter and Wissa are very different. So actually, there'll be a mixture of horses for courses. Like, does this suit this player as well as a bit of rest? I expect Gordon to be the most nailed of those potential pairs, so to speak. Like, he started really well and Barnes hasn't started so well. But we've seen it before where Barnes came in for a game and did really well, and then Gordon had to play the 9 or had to move around or didn't come right back in, or was playing right wing at one point because we were down a winger. So I'd say good minutes prospects, but not nailed. I think I would be worried.
He played 90 minutes. Yeah, he played 90 minutes midweek. If he's getting 80 plus, then it's giving me at least a sign that he's not... You know, we are trying to find the next Saka, Palmer, that kind of a talisman. Penalties. I didn't want to say Salah, but yes, Salah as well. Like, you know, one of those, you know, right or left forwards with penalties, with minutes. And in a team like Newcastle, that should be nice. Like, if their fixtures are great from even now, if you wanted to go there. So we'll see. I think for Gameweek 7, I can see people going there. It's a little risky, but it's worth it. But for me, if I watch another week, maybe it's worth it. But there's good midfielders. Like, it's hard to go against Semenyo, for example, who's also possibly on penalties and
he's going to be playing all the time, isn't he? They're out the cup. They got no Europe. Yeah, I think I tend to be a bit of a minutes pessimist. I would add that as a contextual layer on what I said. So I'll try and break players until I can go, no, I'm sure that they should be in. But if you're a minutes optimist, then I think he's certainly a good option.
Yeah, nice. Okay, shall we go to our teams?
Yes, let me load. Do you want to start?
Well, mine is pretty simple because I'm wildcarding next week.
Yes.
And I have a guy called Florian Wirtz in my team who I don't know what he's doing still in my team. And it's just an easy one because Wirtz played 90 minutes. He's a rotation risk this week.
Yeah.
I can simply do Wirtz to Saka for exact money.
Oh, so you can.
I'm done.
Well planned. There you go.
Yeah.
Is that all part of the plan? Is Wirtz dropping?
Of course, all part.
You don't have to move early or anything?
They dropped a plenty last week when everybody was wildcarding.
It's dropped enough.
I mean, I would have moved early if there was a drop or a rise, but I don't think either is even dropping tonight. So I'll just wait for the press conference, do it nicely, and then never have to look at Wirtz again, or never say never.
Yeah, and then you've not got too much of a benching headache either. You've got Anderson or Reinders maybe, but not really.
Not really.
Van der Ven, but are you playing Anderson over Van der Ven? I guess that's maybe a...
I am, mainly the DEFCON.
Which keeper are you playing?
Keeper, definitely I'm playing Dubravka. Remember I was talking about this thing when if Anderson plays Watkins, either Anderson keeps a clean sheet or Watkins scores a goal. So when I play my two worst players in my team against each other, I like it.
Got Watkins, of course. Yeah.
So I've got Watkins and Dubravka playing against each other. Watkins can get a penalty and take it. I'm happy.
Dubravka can save it. Lovely.
Yeah.
And captaincy, I guess, is the other one.
Is Haaland?
I think so.
Haaland. Solio have it bang on at the moment, right? Between Saka and Haaland?
Basically the same, yeah. We've moved very slightly. I mean, it's margin of error. They're the same, yeah.
And Bruno is also marginally... So, look, I'm happy. If I look at Rob T's graphic...
It's a lot closer in our projections than in the captaincy poll, but that doesn't mean you have to listen to these numbers. It's just another input.
Yeah. I just don't when players are playing in the way they are and they have got high ownership, my style is not to... I know free risk and everything,
don't get
and you
fancy.
can go against it. I can engage in free risk in game week 37 if I'm 18k and I'm trying to push.
Yeah.
I'm not. Haaland is the captain.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Then wildcard next week.
Yeah.
Hit the button
Wildcard
straight
next
away. No need to.
I think so. Like,
Yeah.
look, I can do Watkins to João Pedro, for example, right?
Okay.
And that makes the team all right.
Yeah.
But then I've got a rubbish keeper. I've got Anderson, who's it's the Ange Anderson. My defense looks poor. I mean, I've got the 3 DEFCON cheapos who have carried my team since game week 3.
There they are.
But I think I need an Arsenal defender in there. So I think there's enough to do.
Yeah.
And ultimately, yeah, game week 13 will be nice, but maybe it's similar. So I'll just go for it.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially if players are changing in price a little bit. What's my team? Let's have a look. So there's my big tree that I've been planning with. So I've still got Yuri Tielemans. I'm going to do this move. Who doesn't seem to be fit for Burnley. Sadly, I bought him for this very nice stretch of the games. I say I bought him. I did wildcard him in. I sold him on the wildcard and bought him back.
You've picked him twice now. Yes.
I have chosen him twice. I bought him at 6,
Yes.
so then I sold him at 6, so then I bought him at 5.9, and well, fortunately he's not dropped since then. But he doesn't look to be back.
Because no one has him.
Well, yes. Some of us have been waiting patiently for his penalty against Burnley. If he turns up, I'll be very disappointed. Just out of nowhere. But yeah, so I mean, the reason I made my moves last week, when I bought Haaland, I bought NDI when actually I still had a lot of money in the bank. But I wanted to leave my choice of, do I want to go for Saka this week? Do I want to go for Gabriel? Because I've got Raya and Gyökeres. So it's like, which other Arsenal do I want? How do I want to leave my routes to Palmer? I want to see, another week of info on his injury, routes to Salah. But I think actually I've got plenty for Tielemans to Saka. Still got a bit spare.
Wow.
Which seems like a fairly
well planned as
good
well.
upgrade, yes. Yeah, and then the team looks pretty strong. I have slightly considered bench boost this week. But I'm actually coming more accustomed to the idea that I will credit him, Simon, in the Analytics Discord, Analytics FPL, has been looking at bench boost 17 quite a lot. And actually, I think because you get 5 transfers you have to use all of them in 15, and then you get 5 in 16. So, for example, I can sort of dead end a bit in 15 to set up for 17. Probably won't use all 5 there. Free hit in 16, and then I've got 5 transfers, and I need to use at least one of them. And actually, you could get to Petrovic and Verbruggen, and the defense looks really strong. And you're just actually more flush with transfers in this period than I thought you would be. Salah's not there, so actually you're probably more flush with cash. And actually, I think I don't need to play it this week. I think 7, 8, and 9 all look quite good benches. Like I'm getting potentially benching Raya next week. They all look strong. And the one in 17 isn't loads better, but it is a few points better. And I think because we're not going to get this rule in future years, well, maybe next AFCON, don't know, then I want to make the most of the experience, the FPL story of remember when they gave us 5 transfers for AFCON and I played my bench boost and none of them turned up.
We'll use it in different ways, right? Like I can see myself taking 1 week punts between 13 and 16 because you just have it and you have to use it and you'll be topped up in 16. So there's a couple of ways to do it, but yeah, I like it. 17, look, I've had a chat with Simon on this as well. My issue is that that's 20th of December.
It's just before Christmas, yeah.
And 20th of December is just icky, man. Like some people just don't show up. So I get it. I get the logic completely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would say if in game week 8 or 9, so this week, okay, I can understand.
Yeah, I think because I've got 8 and 9 available, then I think it's easy to pass it this week.
Yeah, and if 8 or 9, if all 15 are fit, remember?
That will be trickier to say no to, especially if I'm, Raya, Stack, Diakite, Anderson at home to Arsenal is not ideal, but these are all decent players.
It's fine.
So
I played Reinders away to Arsenal.
Yeah, so hopefully I get an injury, and then I won't be able to bench boost, and then I can carry on. Well, that's what got me onto 17. Was
only on this podcast.
I had 2 injuries in game week 5. No, 3 injuries in game week 5. Or maybe it was 2. No, I can't remember. Yeah. I wildcarded in 4 to set up for bench boost 5, and then my players died. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not bench boosting. How am I going to figure it out? And now I've gone, oh, wait, I'm not going to use it for ages. But yeah, I mean, the team's quite well set up. I think I don't need to make any big decisions. Tielemans doesn't commit me to any specific path. I can go to the after international break and sort of figure it out. I can Palmer's out for a while. I can move to Enzo. If he's not, I can keep rolling and then do all sorts of crazy stuff in 10 or 11. Because once 9 to 10 has happened, we'll know if Palace have made quarterfinals of the League Cup, for example. So it's probably Tielemans to Saka, then not a lot for a few weeks. Hopefully, that's the plan. But we shall see. And then, yes, I think might captain Saka. Just because...
This week? Okay.
More people than I thought. More people than I thought are going just for Haaland. And given that I think it's quite close, I'm a bit tempted to just go, I don't think many people are going to have this guy. And I think it's close, and I think that's more exciting. So I reserve the right to change my mind. I may well not.
I like it.
I may well not do that. But at the minute, that's where the armband... Well, I was going to say at the minute, that's where the armband is. I haven't bought him yet, so... The armband... Is my armband on
the
Tielemans?
Theoretical armband in your mind.
I'll put it on Tielemans for now. Just so he's holding it ready for Saka. But I don't know. We'll see. It might be fun. Might be stupid. Might be both.
No. It's good.
Yeah.
Look, I understand it. I mean, I was thinking Bruno versus Haaland, but for Saka versus Haaland, I hadn't even given it a thought. But, I have Gyökeres as well, and then, it's like if they
so
have
I can double up on that attack, and actually, it's more strongly correlated with another player in my team. I've got, Haaland's in my only city. I don't have Reinders, so I can go on Arsenal attack, and most people have the defense, and something a bit different. We'll see.
Yeah, nice. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you for listening, especially those of you who are doing it at short notice while you're finalizing your deadlines for the Friday evening team.
Saka's probably picked up a niggle in training and isn't fit. And, we're all stuck.
Don't put it out in the universe.
I just like chaos. Yeah.
But thank you for listening. If you like what you heard and you want to support us, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps us out. It helps the word out. The idea of these is for people to hear about Solio, to hear from us, and hopefully you can do that by liking, sharing, subscribing.
Yeah, I think we could do a comment engagement bait. What do we want people to comment? Just who are you captaining this week?
Just first.
Just write Haaland first, second, third, whatever. Just write some letters, anything. Helps the algorithm.
Excellent.
Lovely. Well, I'll see you next week for some wildcard planning.
Yeah, indeed. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.